Imagine the world at night. Streets are silent, lanterns flicker in the distance, and the soft hum of life fades into shadows. In one quiet alley, a figure moves silently, blending with the darkness. No one notices, but in that silent step, history is being altered. That figure is a spy. Spying is not merely the subject of modern films and dramatic novels. It is a force that has shaped civilizations, decided the fate of empires, and turned the tides of wars. From hidden messages carved on walls to coded letters sent across continents, spies have used ingenuity and courage to protect their nations, betray their enemies, or survive perilous situations. Throughout history, information has been more valuable than gold or armies. The knowledge of an enemy's plans, the discovery of secret alliances, or the leak of a hidden strategy could spell victory or disaster. Yet, for most of history, these figures remained in the shadows. Their names, if remembered, often carry mystery, legend, and intrigue. In this series, we will explore the lives of historical spies and secret operations, uncovering verified facts while painting vivid images of their daring exploits. From the sands of ancient Egypt to the secret corridors of Cold War intelligence agencies, prepare to enter a world where silence speaks louder than swords. In ancient Egypt, intelligence was not a luxury, but a necessity. The stability of the pharaoh's rule depended on knowing the intentions of rivals, neighboring states, and internal factions. The earliest known Egyptian spies were often courtiers, priests, or soldiers with specialized training in observation and message transmission. Pharaohs relied on a network of informants called sesh, a term that roughly translates to secret observers. These individuals were tasked with collecting information discreetly. They could be disguised as merchants, travelers, or even craftsmen, blending into foreign cities or distant provinces of Egypt. Their reports would reach the pharaoh, often written in hieroglyphics that only a select few could interpret. One of the most famous examples of Egyptian intelligence dates to the reign of Pharaoh Thutmose III, 1479 to 1425 BCE. Known as the Napoleon of Egypt, Thutmose III conducted military campaigns in the Levant, and success often depended on precise knowledge of enemy positions. Spies would be sent ahead of the army to gather intelligence on city fortifications, supply routes, and troop movements. Remarkably, some of these operations included infiltration into enemy courts, where Egyptian agents would act as advisors or merchants while secretly sending reports to the pharaoh. Egyptian spies also mastered the art of coded messages. While the hieroglyphic system itself was complex, some scribes developed additional codes to protect sensitive information. A single misread or intercepted message could mean death, either for the spy or the pharaoh's army. In Mesopotamia, particularly in the Assyrian and Babylonian empires, intelligence work was highly institutionalized. Kings maintained extensive spy networks, often embedded within rival states. These agents reported on military preparations, political unrest, and economic activities. The Assyrians, known for their military might, also had a sophisticated intelligence system. They maintained spies who could live undetected in enemy cities for months. One well-documented tactic involved sending young nobles disguised as traitors to foreign courts, where they would gather insights about alliances, troop morale, and potential betrayals. Letters from these spies, often sealed with official stamps, were considered crucial state documents. Babylonian intelligence records, preserved on clay tablets, indicate the use of shadow agents to monitor internal dissent. Kings like Hammurabi recognized that threats to the throne could arise not only from foreign enemies, but from within the palace. Trusted spies reported on ambitious courtiers, conspiracies, and even public unrest. The accuracy of these reports often determined who would ascend to power or who would be executed. In ancient China, intelligence and espionage were deeply intertwined with military philosophy. The legendary strategist Sun Tzu, circa 5th century BCE, author of The Art of War, emphasized that knowledge of the enemy was paramount. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles, he wrote. Sun Tzu classified spies into 5 categories: local, inward, converted, doomed, and surviving. Local spies were citizens of the enemy state who provided basic information. Inward spies were officials within the enemy administration. Converted spies were recruited or bribed from the enemy ranks. Doomed spies were used for deception or to feed false information. Surviving spies were those who could return safely after gathering intelligence. This classification demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of human psychology and strategic planning. Chinese military manuals of the period detail intricate operations, including sending disguised agents to sabotage supply lines, intercept communications, and manipulate enemy perceptions. One famous operation involved a general sending agents disguised as merchants to infiltrate a rival kingdom. The agents delivered false information about troop movements while simultaneously observing enemy defenses. When the army attacked, they were already prepared for the enemy's strategies, having gained an invaluable advantage through espionage. Greek city-states, often in conflict with one another, also relied on espionage. During the Peloponnesian War, 431 to 404 BCE, Thucydides documented numerous instances of spies providing critical information. Both Athens and Sparta employed agents to infiltrate enemy cities, gather intelligence, and occasionally incite rebellion. Greek spies used disguise, subterfuge, and coded messages, much like their contemporaries in Egypt and China. However, Greek philosophy also influenced their approach. Intelligence was seen as both a tactical necessity and a moral challenge. Spying required cunning, restraint, and an understanding of human behavior. Athenian spies, for example, sometimes posed as diplomats or merchants, attending banquets and public events to observe reactions, conversations, and alliances. Their observations would then be conveyed to military commanders or political leaders. These reports could determine whether a city would be attacked, negotiated with, or monitored for longer periods. As the grand civilizations of Egypt, Mesopotamia, China, and Greece receded into the annals of history, the world grew increasingly complex. Kingdoms rose and fell, borders shifted, and the struggle for political dominance intensified. Just as in ancient times, those who could anticipate their enemies' moves often determined the fate of nations. While armies clashed on open fields, spies operated in shadows, unseen yet indispensable, weaving webs of information that could change the course of events. During the Middle Ages, roughly spanning the 5th to the 15th centuries, Europe was a patchwork of kingdoms, principalities, and city-states, often engaged in continuous conflict or fragile alliances. Rulers required not only formidable armies, but also precise knowledge of their rivals' intentions. Information was the currency of power, and spies were its custodians. In medieval Europe, espionage was a vital instrument of statecraft. Kings and queens maintained networks of informants embedded within rival courts, local communities, and even their own households. Some spies were trusted members of the royal court, reporting secretly on dissent, conspiracies, or disloyalty among nobles. Others were hired outsiders, such as merchants, travelers, or clergy, sent to gather intelligence across borders or within foreign courts. A notable historical example is Edward I of England, 1239 to 1307, who cultivated a network of informants throughout England and Scotland. These agents provided critical intelligence on potential rebellions, troop movements, and clandestine alliances. Communications often relied on encrypted letters or complex codes, ensuring that sensitive information could travel safely without interception by enemy hands. The precision of such intelligence was frequently decisive in military campaigns or political maneuverings. Spies were also indispensable on the battlefield. Agents disguised as traveling merchants, pilgrims, or wandering minstrels infiltrated enemy camps, reporting on troop strength, armaments, supply lines, and morale. Their reports allowed commanders to plan attacks, ambushes, or retreats with greater confidence. Accuracy could determine victory or total defeat, highlighting the strategic value of espionage in medieval warfare. Ciphers became increasingly sophisticated during this period. Knights and courtiers employed substitution codes, symbol systems, or letter scrambling to conceal sensitive messages. The art of writing secretly became as crucial as swordsmanship. Intercepted correspondence could unravel months of preparation and cost lives. While European kingdoms relied on scattered networks, the Ottoman Empire developed one of the most organized and sophisticated intelligence systems of the medieval world. Spies, known as Mubir or istihbarat, were essential for maintaining the stability of an empire that spanned 3 continents. Their responsibilities included monitoring internal dissent, safeguarding borders, and gathering intelligence from foreign powers. Internal intelligence focused on palace intrigues, ambitions of provincial governors, and potential revolts. Agents infiltrated cities, villages, and even private households to report directly to the Sultan. The accuracy of these reports allowed the Sultan to prevent rebellions before they could materialize and maintain centralized control over distant territories. Externally, Ottoman spies operated in Europe, North Africa, and Persia. Their tasks included mapping terrain, monitoring troop movements, assessing political alliances, and reporting on the intentions of rival states. Many agents were diplomats or merchants in disguise, blending seamlessly into foreign cultures while transmitting vital information back to Istanbul. Historical records identify notable Ottoman spies such as Abu el-Hayr, an early 16th century operative who infiltrated Venetian trade networks to obtain intelligence on naval movements. Agents stationed in European courts employed advanced techniques centuries ahead of their time, including concealing messages in mundane objects, sending information via trusted intermediaries, and using codes that only trained operatives could decipher. The Ottomans rigorously trained their spies. Instruction included not only the physical arts of disguise and movement, but also psychology, negotiation, observation, and secret writing techniques. Language proficiency and cultural understanding were essential, enabling operatives to operate undetected across diverse regions. The Renaissance, 14th to 17th centuries, marked a profound transformation in intelligence operations. The era's political complexity, burgeoning commerce, and cultural exchange created fertile ground for spies. Italy, in particular, became a hub of espionage activity, with city-states like Florence, Venice, and Milan developing sophisticated intelligence networks. Wealthy families, such as the Medicis, relied on spies to monitor rivals, safeguard trade secrets, and influence political decisions. Niccolò Machiavelli, famed for his treatise The Prince, underscored the centrality of intelligence in governance. Machiavelli himself engaged in espionage, serving as a diplomat and secret agent for Florence. He recognized that knowledge of one's enemies, allies, and potential traitors was essential for survival in a world dominated by political intrigue. His writings codified espionage as a rational, strategic tool rather than merely a clandestine activity. In Elizabethan England, Queen Elizabeth I, 1533 to 1603, institutionalized espionage under Sir Francis Walsingham, her principal secretary. Walsingham's network uncovered plots against the crown, including the famous Babington plot, which aimed to assassinate Elizabeth and place Mary, Queen of Scots, on the English throne. The agents employed a combination of covert observation, intercepting letters, coded communication, and even bribing couriers. The sophistication of Walsingham's methods is remarkable, demonstrating a seamless blend of psychological insight, technological ingenuity, and operational discipline. Techniques and innovations. Renaissance spies employed an array of techniques that elevated espionage to an art form. Dead drops, invisible inks, ciphers, and disguised couriers were widely used. Operatives frequently assumed the identities of merchants, scholars, artists, or envoys. The timing of messages, selection of couriers, and encryption methods were meticulously planned to prevent interception. Failure often meant execution or lifelong imprisonment, underscoring the high stakes of intelligence work. In addition to human intelligence, Renaissance states began experimenting with early forms of signals intelligence. Observing enemy troop movements from vantage points, intercepting communications between rival city-states, and monitoring trade routes were integral to national security. The combination of human ingenuity and emerging techniques formed a complex web of espionage that influenced diplomacy, commerce, and military strategy across Europe. As Europe and the Ottoman Empire expanded their influence, their intelligence systems often intersected. Ambassadors frequently doubled as spies, gathering information while negotiating treaties. Ottoman operatives in European cities and European spies in Istanbul constantly competed to outmaneuver one another, creating a high-stakes game of deception and counterintelligence. This period also saw the emergence of international espionage as a recognized profession. Some agents became famous, or infamous, across borders, known for their cunning, bravery, and ruthlessness. Their activities shaped alliances, prevented wars, and, in some cases, initiated conflicts. The intelligence networks they created would lay the foundation for modern espionage practices in the centuries to follow. Seamlessly continuing from the Renaissance, the world had entered an era of rapid political, technological, and social change. Kingdoms and empires were no longer isolated entities. Commerce, exploration, and conflict spanned continents. In this interconnected world, the role of spies became increasingly critical, transforming from informal networks into sophisticated, strategic systems that would lay the groundwork for modern intelligence services. By the 17th century, Europe was a continent of rising nation-states, engaged in frequent wars and delicate diplomacy. The 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648, a devastating conflict involving multiple European powers, highlighted the importance of intelligence. Armies relied not only on battlefield tactics, but also on timely information about enemy troop movements, alliances, and supply lines. Spies infiltrated enemy camps, disguised themselves as merchants or clergy, and gathered intelligence critical to military strategy. In England, the Stuart period saw the development of more formalized spy networks. King Charles I and later Oliver Cromwell's Commonwealth understood that intelligence could prevent internal revolts and detect plots against the throne. Sir Francis Walsingham's Elizabethan system had provided a blueprint, and successors refined the techniques. Coded letters, secret compartments, and intricate courier systems became standard tools. Meanwhile, in France, Cardinal Richelieu established one of the most centralized espionage systems of the era. Richelieu's agents, known as renseignements, gathered intelligence across Europe, monitoring rival monarchs and rebellious nobles. These operations involved diplomacy, bribery, infiltration, and even assassination when necessary. By carefully controlling information, Richelieu strengthened France's position in European politics, demonstrating that intelligence could be as decisive as armies or navies. As European powers colonized the Americas, intelligence became critical in both colonial administration and conflicts between empires. During the American Revolutionary War, 1775 to 1783, espionage played a decisive role. The Continental Army, under George Washington, relied on a network of spies to monitor British troop movements, gather strategic information, and disrupt enemy plans. The Culper Ring. One of the most famous examples is the Culper Ring, a group of American spies operating in New York City and Long Island. Led by Abraham Woodhull, alias Samuel Culper Sr., and Robert Townsend, alias Samuel Culper Jr., the ring transmitted information using coded messages, invisible ink, and dead drops. Their intelligence allowed Washington to anticipate British maneuvers, contributing significantly to American successes. British intelligence. The British, in turn, maintained their own networks of informants in the colonies. Loyalists, merchants, and undercover agents reported on revolutionary activities, demonstrating that espionage during this period was a complex, multidirectional affair. The stakes were immense. Information could determine the outcome of battles, the survival of armies, and the future of nations. The late 18th and early 19th centuries saw Europe engulfed by the Napoleonic Wars, 1803 to 1815. Napoleon Bonaparte, one of history's greatest military strategists, understood that victory depended not only on battlefield tactics, but also on superior intelligence. French military intelligence. Napoleon established a comprehensive system of military intelligence. Couriers, scouts, and undercover agents gathered information on enemy troop deployments, fortifications, and supply lines. French officers were trained to interpret reports and adjust strategies accordingly. Napoleon's famous campaigns in Italy, Egypt, and across Europe often relied on intelligence that allowed rapid, decisive maneuvers. Espionage techniques. Spies during the Napoleonic era used disguises, coded letters, semaphore systems, and observation posts. The transmission of information was methodical, often involving multiple layers of intermediaries to protect both sources and recipients. Some agents embedded themselves within enemy ranks for months or years, providing detailed reports that directly influenced military decisions. Counterintelligence. Napoleon also recognized the importance of counterintelligence. Efforts to intercept enemy correspondence, uncover double agents, and protect sensitive information were central to his campaigns. The lessons learned during this period would influence intelligence operations for generations to come. The late 18th and early 19th centuries saw Europe engulfed by the Napoleonic Wars, 1803 to 1815. Napoleon Bonaparte, one of history's greatest military strategists, understood that victory depended not only on battlefield tactics, but also on superior intelligence. French military intelligence. Napoleon established a comprehensive system of military intelligence. Couriers, scouts, and undercover agents gathered information on enemy troop deployments, fortifications, and supply lines. French officers were trained to interpret reports and adjust strategies accordingly. Napoleon's famous campaigns in Italy, Egypt, and across Europe often relied on intelligence that allowed rapid, decisive maneuvers. Espionage techniques. Spies during the Napoleonic era used disguises, coded letters, semaphore systems, and observation posts. The transmission of information was methodical, often involving multiple layers of intermediaries to protect both sources and recipients. Some agents embedded themselves within enemy ranks for months or years, providing detailed reports that directly influenced military decisions. Counterintelligence. Napoleon also recognized the importance of counterintelligence. Efforts to intercept enemy correspondence, uncover double agents, and protect sensitive information were central to his campaigns. The lessons learned during this period would influence intelligence operations for generations to come. By the end of the 19th century, espionage had become institutionalized in many nations. Intelligence agencies began forming permanent structures, with defined hierarchies, training programs, and operational procedures. The lessons of centuries, ancient Egypt, Renaissance Italy, Ottoman courts, Napoleonic campaigns, had created a blueprint for the modern intelligence apparatus. Examples of early agencies. In France, the Ministry of Police and later the Douzième Bureau managed espionage and counterintelligence. Britain's intelligence functions were gradually formalized within military and diplomatic departments, paving the way for MI6 in the 20th century. Prussia and other German states created specialized offices for both internal and external surveillance, anticipating the professional intelligence services of modern Europe. Spies of this era were highly trained operatives, capable of using diplomacy, deception, and emerging technology to protect national interests. Their work spanned continents, influencing wars, trade, politics, and technological advancement. The transition from the 19th to the 20th century marked a dramatic turning point in the history of espionage. Everything became faster, larger in scale, and more complex. Wars expanded across continents, ideologies clashed on a global level, and technology advanced at a pace previously unimaginable. Spies were no longer lone wanderers operating in isolated courts or battlefields. They became part of organized, industrialized systems that shaped national policies, international alliances, and the fate of entire generations. When World War I erupted in 1914, nations realized immediately that traditional diplomatic observation was not enough. They needed structured, specialized intelligence organizations. Britain reorganized its intelligence system, strengthening the Secret Intelligence Service, later known as MI6, and expanding domestic counterintelligence under MI5. Espionage during World War I was defined by new technologies, coded radio transmissions, aerial reconnaissance, advanced cryptography, and large-scale propaganda. Networks expanded across Europe. Agents disguised themselves as journalists, Red Cross workers, or merchants. One of the most famous spies of this era was Mata Hari, a dancer accused of passing secrets to Germany. While her case remains controversial, it reflects the paranoia and intensity of wartime espionage. Hidden microphones, intercepted letters, and coded messages became everyday tools of the intelligence world. Germany's intelligence service, the Abwehr, engaged in sabotage operations, infiltrated ports, and attempted to disrupt Allied supply lines. The British, in turn, established the legendary Room 40, a cryptographic unit that intercepted and decoded German communications. Their greatest success came with the deciphering of the Zimmermann telegram, which revealed Germany's offer to ally with Mexico against the United States. This revelation affected American public opinion and accelerated the United States' entry into the war. By the time World War II began in 1939, espionage had become a powerful weapon capable of altering the course of history. Every major power, Britain, the United States, the Soviet Union, Germany, Japan, invested massively in intelligence operations. British intelligence, MI6, MI5, and Bletchley Park. Britain's cryptographic headquarters at Bletchley Park became the nerve center of Allied intelligence. Brilliant minds like Alan Turing helped break the German Enigma cipher, enabling the Allies to read critical military communications. This breakthrough, known as ultra-intelligence, provided detailed insights into German strategies, saving countless lives and shortening the war significantly. MI6 coordinated spies across Europe, while MI5 hunted enemy agents within Britain. Double agents, deception campaigns, and carefully manipulated misinformation formed the backbone of operations like Operation Bodyguard, which successfully misled Germany about the location of the D-Day landings. Soviet intelligence, NKVD and GRU. The Soviet Union developed vast espionage networks. Soviet agents infiltrated governments, scientific institutions, and resistance movements. Groups like the Cambridge Five, a ring of British double agents, supplied Moscow with invaluable intelligence about Allied plans and post-war negotiations. American intelligence, OSS. The United States formed the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, the precursor to the CIA. The OSS organized sabotage missions, trained resistance groups, gathered intelligence in occupied territories, and coordinated with Allied agencies. German and Japanese intelligence. Germany's Abwehr and Sicherheitsdienst, SD, conducted espionage, though internal conflicts weakened their effectiveness. Japan operated extensive intelligence networks across Asia, gathering military and industrial information vital to its war efforts. From 1947 to 1991, the world entered a period dominated not by open warfare, but by hidden battles, covert operations, psychological strategies, and silent confrontations. This was the age of CIA versus KGB, an era that defined what modern espionage truly is. The CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, conducted missions across every continent. These operations included gathering intelligence on Soviet capabilities, influencing foreign governments, supporting resistance movements, and preventing the spread of communism. Techniques ranged from high-altitude spy planes like the U-2 to satellite surveillance, coded radio transmissions, and undercover diplomatic operations. The KGB. The Soviet Union's KGB was equally formidable. It trained elite operatives in counterintelligence, psychological manipulation, and long-term infiltration. Soviet sleeper agents lived for decades in Western countries under false identities, providing Moscow with detailed intelligence about political, military, and technological developments. Berlin, the symbolic city of espionage. Berlin became the epicenter of Cold War spycraft. Safe houses, tunnel operations, bug buildings, and clandestine exchanges defined the divided city. The construction of the Berlin Wall in 1961 intensified the struggle, as both sides fought to control information, influence public perception, and maintain security. Nuclear espionage. One of the most critical areas of Cold War intelligence involved nuclear technology. Nations attempted to uncover each other's capabilities, test data, and scientific breakthroughs. High-stakes operations targeted laboratories, scientists, and research centers. The world lived under constant tension, and intelligence played a key role in preventing catastrophic misunderstandings. The end of the Cold War did not diminish the importance of espionage. It transformed it. New threats emerged: cyber warfare, global terrorism, industrial theft, and digital surveillance. Intelligence agencies adapted by integrating advanced technology into their operations. Cyber espionage. Computer hackers, state-sponsored cyber units, and digital surveillance systems became essential tools. Nations targeted government databases, research labs, power grids, and financial networks. The battlefield shifted from physical locations to invisible digital arenas. Satellite and drone surveillance. Modern satellites can capture high-resolution images of almost any location on Earth. Drones conduct reconnaissance, monitor borders, and support military operations with unparalleled precision. These tools allow intelligence agencies to gather information in real time with remarkable accuracy. Artificial intelligence and data analysis. AI systems analyze vast amounts of data, detect patterns, and predict potential threats. Machine learning enhances facial recognition, communication interception, and strategic forecasting. Modern intelligence is as much about algorithms as it is about human agents. Despite technological advances, the essence of espionage has not changed. Human intelligence, trust, persuasion, loyalty, deception remains irreplaceable. A single conversation, a subtle gesture, or a courageous whistleblower can alter the course of history just as dramatically as a satellite or supercomputer. As we reflect on the journey through thousands of years of espionage, one quiet truth becomes clear. The world has always been shaped by unseen hands, silent footsteps, and hidden messages. Empires rose and fell not only through battles, but through the whispers of agents who risked everything in the shadows. Tonight, as you drift into sleep, imagine the long chain of history gently fading into the distance. From ancient couriers carrying coded scrolls to modern analysts watching glowing screens, the story of espionage has always been a story of curiosity, caution, and the delicate balance of power. Let your mind settle, knowing you have traveled through centuries of secrets. The noise of the world slowly fades, the tension dissolves, and a quiet calm takes its place. This is where the story rests. And now, so can you.